Hey everybody, it's Wednesday afternoon, Christmas Eve. Let's just stay in, watch some games, watch some movies, do something. Not going to do anything, probably not going to do anything tomorrow either. But anyway, today I'm going to do another one from New Belgium's Lips of Faith series. It's been on the shelf for a while and I just picked one up. I'm sort of leery of New Belgium's Lips of Faith series. But anyway, it looked interesting. I'm going to do their Transatlantic Kriek. Everybody knows what a creek is, I'm sure. Unless you're in the South and you probably call it a creek. But anyway, from the website it says, in a never-ending quest to create new beers in defy category, New Belgium Brewing and Brewerij Boon of Belgium have partnered together again to create Transatlantic Kriek. And Atlantic ends in IQUE, a spontaneously fermented Lambic ale made with Polish cherries. This authentic Kriek beer began life in the oaken vessels at Frank Boon's brewery in the Lembeek region of Belgium. After more than 2 years aging, Boon's offering shipped across the Atlantic and found its way to the intuitive palate of New Belgium's Brewmaster Peter Bouckaert. After much sampling and internal consultation, Peter and his brew staff created a full-bodied golden lager to round out the light-bodied Kriek. The cherry nose gives way to a pleasingly sour flash across the palate that rolls gently into a slightly sweet finish. Crisp, effervescent carbonation keeps the mouthfeel bright and delightfully tingly. It's 8% ABV, 8 IBUs. It says yeast, lager yeast. I don't know what they're doing mixing a lager with an ale, but hops, willamette, malts, pale red wheat, carapils, and roasted barley. It's a special processing, blending. The above described bean is then mixed with the cherry lambic at a ratio of 45% lambic to 55% bean strong golden ale. Morello cherries, too sour for some people's taste to be eaten fresh. The beer's malty sugars balance the acidity and brings out the fruit's aroma and flavor. So, doesn't sound like it's an actual traditional Kriek, but anyway, let's get this popped open, get it in the glass, and see what we got. A little bit of a hiss, no smoke down in the neck, so let's get it poured. Well, that does look like a Kriek. It's probably all I'll have right now, so we'll see what it tastes like. Yeah, that's a nice reddish pink pink beer. Got a finger of a pink, kind of foamy looking white head, not real creamy looking. Not a lot of small bubbles in there, so there's a lot of big ones and a lot of medium-sized bubbles, not a lot of small bubbles. Doesn't seem to be a ton of carbonation streaming up, so let's get a nose on it. Hey, yeah, it's a bit green. Got just a touch of cherry to it. For a cherry lambic or Kriek, it's there's not a lot of cherry there. Pretty kind of a muted smell, actually. It actually smells kind of fruity and sweet, though, rather than the tartness you expect from a Kriek usually. Maybe some woody notes in there. Maybe there's a little tartness in there, but not a lot. It almost reminds me of that cherry licorice, you know, that candy you buy and the twisted strings. If I eat licorice, I like the black licorice, but I've had the cherry before, and it's almost candy-like in its sweetness, and that's what it reminds me most of. Maybe just a hint of some barnyard funk in there, but a little sweet malt. Not like sort of like a traditional lambic, but a little toned down, maybe a little muted. Some wheat and biscuit notes, some light, like musty horse blanket in there that you sometimes get from them, but not a lot. And the nose is kind of muted, so let's get a taste. Okay, now I'm getting a lot more cherry in there than I'm getting, but there's not much sour to it. It's a sweet cherry, that's for sure. There's just a hint, the second sip, there's just a hint of tartness there that kind of kicks in about the middle of the palate and kind of washes across the roof of the mouth, but it doesn't last very long. It's mostly the sweetness. For a Kriek, it's a bit bland and not a lot of aftertaste that you sometimes get with Krieks. It leaves sweet more than tart, that's for sure. Again, like one of those cherry candies, but without overwhelming sweetness. There's a lot of sweetness there, but it's not overwhelming sweetness. There is a hint of tartness to kind of counteract that a bit, but it's certainly not as tart as several I've had. Yeah, there's just a hint of tartness and almost a little bit of that vinegar note in there, but just a touch of cherry flavor too. It's doesn't really have the large amount of cherry that I'm used to either. It's kind of rounded out with a slight grainy flavor there, and you get a little bit of that malt base in there, and just a hint of some warming from the alcohol. That's one thing you don't taste the alcohol. You can feel it a little bit on the finish as it goes down, but you don't really taste it in the flavor. It's fairly light mouthfeel, fairly decent carbonation, and just that mildly tart finish. So let me sit. I might add a little more to this, and I will sip on this a while and come back in a while with the final thoughts and grade. Okay, I'm back. It's only been 20 minutes or so. This warmed up a bit. I tell you, overall, this is a fairly sweet offer. Sweet beer for a Kriek. It's decent, but it definitely could use a little more tartness to balance it out. It's not overly sweet. Don't get me wrong, it's not overly sweet, but it needs some more tartness. It's decent, but not great. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. As far as the flavor, could use a little more of everything. A little more sourness, a little more funk. Definitely more cherries. The cherries sort of get lost there in all the malts and everything. It'd be a nice introduction to sours. If you got a neophyte that hasn't had a sour before, it might be a nice introduction to sours, but it's definitely not for the for the initiated. If you're looking for a top-notch sour, yeah, I'd look elsewhere from this one. But if you've never got into sours, or you're not sure about sours, or you know somebody who needs an introduction to sours, it might be a nice way to go. But if you like I do, if you know and love sours, yeah, this is not going to do it. So I'm going to get. It's still not a bad beer. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad beer. It's just not a great beer. So I'm going to give the New Belgium Transatlantique Kriek, and Atlantic ends in QUE, 8% ABV. I'm going to give it I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10. It's decent. It's drinkable. I won't have any problem finishing it, but definitely not going to get another one again. You know, if I'm gonna go for a goose or a sour or Flanders red or something, I'll definitely go for something else. So 7.5 out of 10. So till next time, everybody, cheers. Let's keep drinking good beers.